Hello, and welcome back to this video. Today, I'm going to be interviewing one of my colleagues and classmates, Gabriella. And Gabriella, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your project?
Hi, my name is Gabriella. My project centers around LLMs and LLM hallucinations. It's basically supposed to see if cross-checking with other LLMs can kind of eliminate the worries that are centered around that, especially when it comes to the legal field and generating any type of legal text. Can you use another AI to kind of eliminate that problem?
Well, I kind of already answered my next question, which was why did you think this type of research, this type of work was important?
Yeah, so I think, it's a very unique risk for attorneys, because AI models can sound very confident and it can create a false sense of security for us. And so it means that we have to verify every AI output, because over relying on, unverified conclusions and stuff like that can lead to like ethics violations and, compromise legal advice. And so we're trying to see if, using another AI to try to catch some of the hallucinations can help us, be able to like tell apart whether or not, it is legitimate or not. Because if it's giving you kind of like a false sense of security and it sounds very confident, it could probably, influence our beliefs on it. So just to see if it can catch things that we don't catch, just to see if it can eliminate some of the concerns for it, and just generally pretty much that.
Nice.
The
Yeah.
AI are, yeah,
I already made a video on my channel about the obligations of attorneys that use AI, and we talked about ABA Opinion 512 and things like that. So definitely relevant research. And I know this is probably every time I talk to somebody in the field of law, their uh, greatest concern when we start talking about AI is hallucinations and getting in trouble, essentially. I just spoke with a bunch of judicial clerks on Friday last week, and that was one of the things they all immediately went to was like, oh, hallucinations, you're going to get in trouble. So
right.
definitely great research you've got. What has been your method for conducting these experiments or research, and ultimately, like, what's been your process?
Yeah, so I've been right now I'm taking a professional responsibility course, and I've been using kind of AI to try to, you know, analyze certain scenarios in it. And I noticed that sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was correct, sometimes it wasn't. And so I wanted to kind of use an area of law where the AI was struggling with, because early on in the project, I was having issues with using kind of like first year, um, lawyer, like first year law school kind of topics like contracts and, civil procedure or constitutional law. And it is very well trained on those topics. They're very well covered. There is a lot of, litigation on it. There's a lot of public record on it. So the AI has a lot of resources when it comes to well litigated topics. And so you tend to have a little bit less hallucination. So when I'm prompting an AI to analyze a legal issue for me that's constitutional, sometimes it has more resources, so it doesn't really hallucinate. So I wanted to kind of hit the nuances, which is kind of more in your everyday lawyer's life of use of AI, where it's very fact specific to your client. There's a lot of, sometimes it hasn't been, addressed in a court before. Sometimes it can be very nuanced. So I wanted to hit those, and I noticed that, professional responsibility was one of those areas where it was struggling. It was struggling to, because it didn't have so many sources to pull from. It had to analyze a lot of its own. It had to do a lot of its own analyzing, and just pulling from the model rules and stuff like that. So I've been
And when
focusing on.
And so when you're running these tests, are you asking it to give you answers to your questions with case law? Like you're looking specifically for cases from it to see if it hallucinates, or are you just looking to see if its answer generally is in the, right or wrong?
I could show you an example, but I'm going to pull one up for myself right now. But typically, I give it a fact scenario. Um, It's usually based on a multiple choice question from the textbook of the professional responsibility course.
Okay.
Just changed to be it is prompted to be kind of like an associate at a law firm. It is told to draft a memorandum addressed to a senior partner, analyzing whether or not the attorney is subject to discipline, for example. And I will give it a fact scenario, which like the first one I did was um, which one is this one?
Do you want to
Um,
share your screen?
yeah,
If it's sure.
I think that'll be good. Um, share. Oh, that is not it. Um, this one. Mm, it's not coming up. Hold on one second.
You're good. Take your time.
There it is. Okay, so this is the first one that I did. Um, and basically this is prompt one. It addresses an attorney who worked at an amusement park, and it addresses basically conflict of interest. And I asked it to kind of analyze it in a memorandum form. And then down here, the issue is basically, whether the attorney who previously worked at an in-house for a large amusement park is now working at a multinational firm, assisting the firm's litigation practice, representing an adjacent property owner against the amusement park, is subject to discipline under the ABA. Um, so the LLM will give me the response. This is the LLM's response.
Which LLM?
Um, I'm using ChatGPT, and then I'm using Claude as the cross check, and then I'm going to swap. So right now I've only been giving ChatGPT hold on one second. I think my computer was gonna die.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, sorry about that.
You're
So
good.
yes, I started with ChatGPT. So far, I've given it 5 tests, and then Claude cross-checks it. The next one is going to be Claude cross-checking another 5 or 6, or no, Claude answering 5 or 6, and then ChatGPT cross-checking Claude. Um, it would be more beneficial to do probably more tests and have more LLMs involved, but because of the time constraints with the project and everything, we are limited to just being able to use the most common ChatGPT or Claude. Um, Down here, so each time that the LLM generates a response, we do a human analysis of the response, and each response, it does have a correct answer. And we know this because it's based on a multiple choice kind of basis. And so sometimes the LLM doesn't have enough facts to work with. And so part of this is also seeing if the LLM tries to fill things in. Um, and I think here the memorandum was incorrect, because there was no former client conflict of interest requiring informed consent. Um, Here we have like the error type. It seems like it misinterpreted the rule by extending like the criteria too far. It assumed that, general knowledge from something in employment and working in human resources would impact a like a nuisance claim. And it's not necessarily like that doesn't it took substantially related way too far,
Mhm.
where it didn't need to be. And so that's kind of how I've been separating everything, doing the human analysis based on the response that we know is correct, um, seeing if it gets to the right place and if it's able to identify when it doesn't have enough information, and then identifying kind of like the type of error that it's making and the type of hallucination that it's making. And then, sorry about that. And then in the in the cross check, which I'm going to try to open, we will then prompt Claude to review the memorandum. We give Claude. So I noticed that in my first test, I think I did not provide Claude the prompt. I only provided Claude the memorandum. And in my other test, I provided it the prompt as well, just to give it more context, because it did not catch this first issue, but it did catch it upon further prompting. Um, so I'm going to try and share that now. So here is a prompt that I use. Review this legal memorandum for hallucinations, correctness, and accuracy. It's very simple. Um, and I kind of just gave it the memorandum and saw what it could do with it. Um, I think I'm just going to skip to kind of like the conclusion. So it says that it was well reasoned, accurate, and it correctly applied all the rules. Um, so I asked it to elaborate. I said, is the response correct? Was it a violation of Rule 1.9 or not? And then it did a step-by-step evaluation where it realized it was not a substantially related matter. Um, and then further, I made some commentary where I added the fact that, here we have a delayed detection. It correctly identified it, on second prompting. So that's kind of when I decided to pivot a little bit and give it the prompt as well, just to give it the most context possible. Also try to clear up a little bit of the wording as well to be more specific to the type of thing that we were looking for. I'll try to share that now.
I wonder if when you do it in reverse, where you start with Claude and then you check with ChatGPT, if there'd be a difference in the quality from if you use 1.0 versus regular ChatGPT, because the 1.0 does that, what it looked like Claude just did, which was this sort of thinking out loud, this is my process. When you prompted it the second time, it kind of went a little bit, step by step. Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really, it's very efficient when you try to get it to think out more.
Hmm.
Um, so if we can find the best way to prompt it, um, might be able to eliminate certain issues. I'm trying to share the cross check, but I just need to refresh the share. Mm,
And so, what were your like expectations coming into this? And has the preliminary findings lived up to your expectations or your working hypothesis, or has it kind of contradicted it?
Based on the fact that currently in an LLM course, and so we've played around with it so much. And so I already had the general idea that it is very good at analyzing and citing and quoting and finding cases for things that are commonly litigated and things that are commonly documented and um, things that are just covered a lot more often, like, an international shoe versus maritime law, you know. But I think that it kind of reinforces what we all already know. Like based on the tests that I've been doing so far, it reinforced what we all already know in a sense that AI is very good at, forming these arguments and being a preliminary source for crafting these things and to um, find, the relevant rules that might be really relevant to your issue. But it is up to you to double check and to make sure that it is to be aware of the nuances because as a human, we're aware of like how certain things affect each other more complexly and we're able to analyze the law and see those little things that maybe an AI is missing or it's overgeneralizing or it's um, trying to fill in facts where they don't exist because it wants to get to a certain point. Since it is predicting, it wants to get to this point. It wants it to make sense, and so it sometimes it will overconfidently make it make sense for you. So it's up to you to double check and, understand the law yourself, but use it as a starting point so it doesn't take you as long to get something done. Where it comes to figuring out how to word a certain sentence or a certain phrase, it's more about focusing on the correct application of the law versus, you know, figuring out how you want to say something. That's kind of what I've noticed so far.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. It's interesting. How do you think this is going to change kind of the legal profession over the next 5, 10 years? Do you think I again, whenever I talk to attorneys, it's like, oh, we're all going to be out of a job, or
Yeah.
they think it's a nothing burger. They're like, this won't change anything. Where do you think the answer to that question lies?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this is a tool that no other generation has had before. And I think that if you learn how to use it correctly and you learn how to use it with along with everybody now, it is going to be an excellent tool to make you more efficient. It is here to help you. It cannot replace you, unfortunately, for some people. But like you can use AI is mostly used for drafting. It kind of gets rid of, for example, let's say you have your paralegal draft a document for you and you have them, draft a motion for you. You wouldn't just trust that they can, like practice the law the way that an attorney, who is licensed can. So you have to check it and make sure it is accurate. I say use it the same way you would use your paralegal as an assistant, not as an attorney.
Mhm.
Um, it's important to verify, but it gets rid of all the time that it takes to get the bare bones ready, get the kind of get the outline going. And sometimes it is excellent, sometimes it is correct, and sometimes it comes up with arguments that a human being couldn't on in 15 seconds, So if it can come up with things faster than you can and then you can add to it, it should make you stronger. It shouldn't take away from you. Um, and you can always, as I showed with Claude, you prompt it to clarify, you ask it questions and try to poke holes there. But yeah, I think the biggest concern is just, make sure that you are complying with your ethics. And I know you said you had a video on that, but yeah, just make sure that your your client information is protected. Just make sure
Mhm.
that you are verifying all the things that come out of it, which you should be anyways with all of the things that you use to assist you. Um, and I don't it's not going to replace you anytime soon as an attorney. I, I think one of the things that this very small study is showing me is that it's not good at finding the nuances and getting everything. So it's important that we're still here to double check and get everything else.
Right. And uh, is there anything else you want to show from this research?
Mm, I think uh, as of now, not really. Unfortunately, I'm only halfway through getting
You're
as much.
good. Yeah, these are just preliminary findings, I know.
Yeah, we're in the
Um,
beginning of it, but I think the biggest thing is just definitely learn how to use AI, practice using it as much as possible, find its weaknesses and find its strengths and how it works for you. Because at the end of the day, our responsibility as like future attorneys and as attorneys is to maintain a certain level of competence and maintain, competence with electronics and, to not overbill when, other people are being able to go faster than you or to be able to do things with the tool because you might choose not to. So I think it's important to always strive to learn and to always strive to use the tools that are provided for you and see where its weaknesses and strengths might be for you.
and so for the attorneys that are using ChatGPT or Claude, how important is it? How much would you recommend that after they use it, before they start their own analysis of what they were given, they run it through a cross check on the opposite, platform?
Yeah, I think it's super beneficial to run it through a cross check on another platform, just to have a fresh perspective on it, to have something to go through everything that it knows, go through all the facts and double check it step by step. It is very beneficial, especially because it might catch things that you don't catch. And you are always checking for the things that you already know, the law that you already know, and you're always doing your own research and double checking everything. And so if you also have something telling you, hey, look out for this and this, and maybe it missed something, that's okay because you're here to double check it, but it doesn't
Mhm.
take you as long as it would take you to truly sit there and kind of analyze it. I think that's the biggest benefit is it's here to be an aid. It's not really a decision maker of any sorts. It's really just here to help you and bring things to light.
Yeah. This all this stuff with AI, um, ultimately it's in my mind taking the place of a technology more similar to a calculator, the invention of a calculator, than it is to, the invention of the printing press. Like, while I think it is huge on scale for lawyers specifically, I do think there are jobs in which its importance is so great it might lead to a lot of layoffs. But when it comes to lawyers, I view this as sort of like a tool akin to a calculator, preliminary or faster analysis or argument crafting, things like that. So it's interesting, but yeah, I agree with your ultimate conclusion that it's we're not out of a job. So
Yeah,
um,
I think you're 100% right. I think seeing it as a calculator is like the best way possible, where of course you still have to know how to do math,
mhm.
but having a tool there that can do it a little faster really helps you get it done when it's a huge motion, it's a huge thing, or you have so many things on your plate, as attorneys usually do. I think it'll be a really good tool and it'll be very beneficial for clients in the long run.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
Gabriella, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your research with me and where you're at so far and for the channel as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate it.
Yep. See you in class.
See you.